Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes because, look, he's the guy who is, I believe, hyper-aware of his legacy. He's chasing Tom Brady. Here he is from last night talking about the motivation that he has to win what would be his third career Super Bowl.
I think more than anything, I've lost the Super Bowl, and I know how bad that hurts. You want to make sure you stay away from that feeling. So I think even more than hoisting that trophy is when you lose it and you're in that locker room and you feel like you're that close and you didn't get it, that feeling is I'm almost more addicted to staying away from that feeling than I am of hoisting the trophy.
You know, it's a great point, too. You think about the despair he had to feel after they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because that was the game where he was doing everything he could. We were talking about it yesterday. Yeah. Some of the crazy stuff, running around, making the throws. Yeah. Guys were dropping him. It's like, I can't believe this guy with a bad toe that needed to be operated on was playing like that. But he understands there's only so many of these chances. And just think if that game had gone the different way, he'd already have 3, and Brady would only have 6. So you got to be tormented by the loss at that level when you know you've climbed the mountain twice, and you're trying to climb it 7 times. Your goal is out there. Like for Brady, there wasn't anyone he was chasing once he got past Montana. For Mahomes, the ultimate fuel is, I know I need 5 more, and this is my best chance to get to number 3.
So I think you got to be careful because I sense that everyone in the media profession is just assuming several more Super Bowl appearances for Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
You know, because he's been there, this is 4th time in 6 years. So everybody's saying, well, he's going to keep doing this. Just want to remind you of one thing. From the first Super Bowl I ever covered, this is the 40th. First Super Bowl I ever covered.
Marino, right.
Marino against Montana.
Yeah.
And after the game, I bet 94 people said to Dan Marino, hey, Dan, don't worry, you'll be back.
Right.
And he never got back. Right. Now, I'll also say that clearly Mahomes has one of the greatest offensive coaches of all time.
Right.
So,
a young football team.
Yeah,
right.
and he's got a lot. He's got Rasheed Rice, Pacheco,
The defense
eventually
is one of the youngest
he's going to lose this great tight end,
That's
but
right.
they'll figure it out.
Yep.
But I just look at this and I say, I think it's logical to suggest this. It's not logical to assume this.
No, I hear you there. There's no doubt. We know how hard it is in this league. It's special what he's done already. I mean, to your point, right? What he's done, the conference championships, I think it took Brady in year 12 to do that, right? What he's doing is remarkable. Can you sustain that? We've never seen really anything like it to this point like that. I want to ask you, because you brought up Montana, Marino, right? And you've had so many of these moments with these great quarterbacks over time. What is it like Montana, Marino, Elway, right? Troy Aikman. Tell me what's different about Patrick Mahomes compared to them. Or what stands out to you that's a little different in his personality or the way he is, maybe compared to your times being in a closed room with those other greats?
He reminds me of Brady with his approach and his I may not win, but I'm going to kill myself trying to win.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, don't say that. Don't say No.
Yeah.
If you said to Mahomes, might have to take 3 years off your life, so you're going to die at 78 instead of 81.
Right.
But I'll give you this win. Sign me up.
That's it. That's my kind of guy.
That's him.
That's Chris Sims right there. I'll lose a spleen and lose a few years of my life because I want to beat the Carolina Panthers in Week 4.
And you didn't even get a ring out of it.
You
gave up a spleen and almost gave up your life, and you didn't get anything. You didn't get a T-shirt.
I turned down $10 million before the year went out. I really screwed up that year. Let me just tell you.
But the one thing about that I think of when I think of Mahomes is that, and Kyle Shanahan said it to me when I was riding with him the other day. He goes, Patrick Mahomes wins in so many ways.
Right.
He wins out of the pocket.
Yeah.
He wins running.
Right.
He wins
in the pocket
as a quarterback.
Right.
Just statuesque.
Right.
In the pocket.
Being surgical right there. Right.
And he goes, other quarterbacks. He said there are other quarterbacks like him in terms of how they play, the mobility and all that. But nobody is great at everything the way he is.
Right.
That's
what I've been.
Difference.
That's what I've been hearing. That's what I've been hearing from a lot of defensive coaches over the last 6 weeks.
And remember, before the season, one of the things he said, and I asked him about it after the Patriots game, he is obsessed with getting to the point where Tom Brady was in his 30s, where you walk up to the line of scrimmage and there's nothing you see you haven't seen.
Yeah.
He is so anxious to get to that point. Imagine how much better he'll be when he doesn't have to improvise.
Right.
When he can just fire the ball to the third read because he knows where it's going to be, because he went straight to the third read because he knew the first two were going to be covered based upon the look he was getting, and he knew that the safety was going to move this way based on film study, based on all the other things he's seen, based on all the times he's played that team or that defensive coordinator, just all that stuff that goes into the computer and spits out the answer, and it becomes where you can't, as you get older,
Yeah, he
you
won't
can
be
just
able to move
process,
the same, but he's going to be able to process it
and
better.
throw, process and throw, process and throw.
You know, Mike,
Right.
you saying that, and I don't. I bet Chris doesn't know this, but I remember something that Chris's dad told me when he retired. He was 38 when
38,
he retired.
right.
Yeah, and he goes, and I said, "What's the most disappointing part of this?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "I've just gotten to the point where I know everything."
Right.
But physically, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm just, I could, he could have forced himself to do it.
Right.
Okay, but physically, I just can't answer the bell the way I used to. And he said the disappointing thing is that nothing that a defense does surprises me. I got it all figured out. And it sounds cocky, but it isn't cocky.
It's not
It's
cocky.
just real.
It's just real. It's experience. It's reps. It's seeing it. He said to me even, a few times when I was playing, along those lines where, at the end of my career, I didn't really get nervous. I didn't get nervous. And I'd be like, really? And he'd be like, yeah, I had played enough and I felt like, I knew this defensive coordinator and what they do. And there was just like, the only thing I was nervous about in the game was just, can I get hit a few times early on to get in the game? But I wasn't like, oh no, how are they going to attack us or do that? And, not to say my dad's Mahomes or Brady, but he was pretty damn good. But the great ones, of course, have that, is what we're saying here. And that's where, Mahomes, it seems like the game has gone into slow motion picture mode, and he sees every little facet of everything.
You know what? This has nothing to do with anything, but I've never told you this, and you should know this.
Okay.
So I remember talking to Phil after the '85 season, and
they lost to the Bears in the divisional playoff game.
In '84,
right,
he threw for 4,000 yards.
Right.
And in '85, he threw maybe, I forget, 2,900 or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I think it was over 3,000.
Whatever it was.
Yeah,
but it was a lot less.
Yeah.
And I asked him something like, does that bother you at all?
Right.
And he goes, Peter, I don't give a bleep about my stats. He said, we're a damn good team because Joe Morris was fantastic.
Right.
And we, and all this stuff. And I'm always impressed with players at all positions who convincingly say, I don't give a crap about my stats, because I do think there are players who do
100%.
give a crap about their stats.
No doubt about it.
Your father never cared about his stats. And I remember one time after he goes 22 for 25 in the Super Bowl, saying, geez, I forget, it was either Bavaro or McConkey. Boy, they could have caught that ball. It would have been 23 and 25.
Right.
He goes, what are you, crazy? I mean, this is football. You don't catch everything. You don't do it. He wasn't mad about it at all.
Right. It's not a perfect game. Anyway. Well, thank you. I appreciate you telling me that story.
Yeah.
I really do. I do. I don't always get to hear that stuff from my dad always. He's not the best at sharing all that stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't open up. He's old school that way.
He's too busy telling you
He's
not to
busy.
kick little wood chips into the pool.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Christopher!
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.